Hi, my name is Matthew Iavani, and I am a partner here at Full Funnel. And I'm going to present to you a communications framework that you can use with your clients, peers, and partners in order to create accountability, transparency in your work and professional life. So the first thing is to identify the fact that there is a lot of opportunity for opacity in client relationships and professional relationships with your peers. And sometimes it's very easy to get off track. I think there's a well-known saying that if two planes were to leave a particular airport, let's say Boston, and they were just a few degrees off from a trajectory standpoint, 5 minutes into the flight, they're not going to be very far apart from each other. But 5 hours after they're departed, they're going to be very far away from each other. And it's important to realize that as you are constantly trying to seek alignment with your peers, partners, and clients as you're sort of conducting your professional work. So at Full Funnel, we use this 4-question framework here to sort of keep us accountable in that process. Now, remember, effective communication is pretty much the key cornerstone in building any sort of relationships professionally, whether it's with clients, with peers, with management, so on and so forth. So the first thing that we want to talk about is making sure you understand the framework. You understand the sort of the questions around how to sort of generate that framework, talk about how this provides clarity and purpose, and really talk about how this is an iterative process. It's not something that's sort of a set it and forget it. So the 4 key questions here that you always want to be sort of thinking about as you're interacting with your peers, partners, and clients are as follows. The first is, what are we doing right now? The second is, why are we doing this particular action, this thing? What is our objective? The next is, what are we seeing for results? We had this objective, we're doing this thing. Now, what are we seeing as a result of that? And the fourth is, what are we going to do next, taking into consideration what we're seeing now? So it's very simple, but if you think about it, as in this presentation, what are we doing right now is I'm trying to give you, the sort of viewer, a overview on a 4-question framework. Why are we doing this? Because I want you and every Full Funnel employee that watches this to understand how to effectively interact with peers, clients, and partners. What we're seeing is that effective communication is always going to build the most sturdy bridge and relationship between our client partners, our peers, and our professional interactions. What are we going to do next is we're going to leverage this framework, and we're going to try to go about our business in a more sort of transparent and accountable format. Now, when you think about what are we doing, it's always about defining actions, tasks, responsibilities. You want to outline deliverables, timelines, and responsibilities. You want to provide a very clear understanding of the actions that we're taking, right? As an example, what we're doing right now is we're leveraging paid advertising, primarily Google and Microsoft Bing ads. We are trying to promote a bottom of the funnel offering aimed at this specific buying demographic with this specific pain point. We're doing that because we feel like this pain point is very pronounced in the market, and we're trying to generate more discovery calls with the ideal client persona. The next question is, why are we doing it, right? You want to delve into the rationale behind these strategies, explain the evidence or the hypothesis guiding these decisions, and ensure that your clients, peers, and partners understand the purpose and objectives. The reason why we're running paid advertising campaigns across Google and Bing is because we believe that most of these buyers, when they do hit a point where they do need help in this particular area, the first place they're going to do is they're going to go to the internet and start researching partners that can help them there. That would drive them to paid advertising, and that's going to be the fastest way to get high urgency, high intent type of prospects. Now, what are we seeing, right? What are the things that you're seeing? Present the outcomes, the results, the data. Focus on the progress against KPIs and benchmarks, and really answer that question like, what does it mean for the client, the peer, the partner? Right? So as an example, you could say, now that we've been running these ads across Bing and Google, these bottom of the funnel search ads aimed at your ICP, we're seeing really strong conversion rates. We are seeing click-through rates that are not so great. We're trying to improve those click-through rates from the landing page that we're getting them to. And because of that, we feel like the campaign is sort of performing in a reasonably good way on the front half of the campaign. But once they hit that landing page environment, something's not going right, and we're not getting the optimal sort of conversion that we're looking for from that landing page forward, right? The next question is, what are we going to do next? So you're always talking about outlining the next steps and actions. You're creating a forward-looking plan based on outcomes. And this should build credibility, trust, and align with your client, peer, or partner's goals. Because we're seeing these low conversion rates from the landing page forward, we think it's either a landing page composition or we think it's a messaging problem. So we're going to do a couple tests here. We're going to change the composition, where the forms are, what the material is, what the messaging is, to try to get to that improved conversion rate, which is going to hit our benchmark and allow us to say this campaign is successful before we scale it with more investment. That is a really sort of easy way of sort of thinking through how to talk to a peer, partner, or client about an objective that you have. Now, remember, this is all meant to provide a sort of clear and concise narrative. Don't forget those two planes that leave from Boston Airport. If they're just a little bit apart, right? After 5 minutes, it's not a big deal. After 5 hours, they're in different zip codes, different states, different territories, right? You don't want to be in a different zip code of understanding than the rest of your team, your clients, or your partners. This is an easy communications framework to always attack meetings, interactions with a sort of process to ensure that you're being accountable, transparent, and highly communicative. Don't forget, the thing I try to always explain to people is, if you've ever been to London, you've gone to the London Underground, you've seen those signs that say mind the gap. What they're trying to say is, like, mind the gap between what you think is going to happen. You're going to clearly step onto the train versus what doesn't happen, which you're going to stub your toe and trip. You want to be aware of the things that are going to impact your success, right? Most human suffering occurs between the gap of expectations of what you think is going to happen versus what does happen. And using this four question framework rather, will always ensure that the gap of what people expect is going to happen versus what is actually happening will be as small as humanly possible. I hope you've enjoyed this training video. Thank you very much.